I keep seeing articles pop up like this is one from a couple months ago now. In the age of AI and layoffs, playing old games, 2026 is about more than nostalgia. Never been a better time to embrace your retro gamer era. There's The Guardian. This one was just the other day while we're going back to games of our youth. And this is very reflective of what I see on social media. And let me know if you see this a lot, because I see many people posting even videos like gameplay of older titles, even on the original Xbox. I saw one recently of Kelly Slater's, I think, pro surfing or whatever, right? And people looked at it and said, "Man, the water looks good in that game. What is this? How are they doing that?" And that's hey, some of those games hold up more than you'd expect. All right, so. The thing with this, of course, comes back to, oh, I gotta, get the game system itself, get the games that I mean, let's face it, the secondhand market certainly takes advantage of nostalgia and retro gaming. I mean, people are grading these things and they're selling it then to not even be played, and it can be quite frustrating. But obviously, there's all kinds of archives on the internet where people will just go and download these games. And I think, especially now, as we're seeing the industry become very transparent when it comes to it being just a business, there was always the argument, of course, around, oh, you don't download ROMs, yeah, it's illegal or whatever. Even though I don't think most companies come kick your door down over downloading a Super Nintendo game or something like that. But we have seen copyright strikes and stuff on certain websites that are quite popular for downloading some of these different games. And many of these companies will, if they want to at times, go out of their way to make an example or to protect their intellectual property, if you will. But when I think about a game that's, I don't know, 20 years old, 25 years old, 30 years old, it's like, they kind of look at this as legacy. And now, with how many digital storefronts we see get shut down, and how we hear sometimes where companies have lost the source code for an old game and they can't do a remaster, it's like, how serious are you guys actually taking this with maybe even the legacy of a franchise or a game that at times it feels like the fans just outright value more than a company that would like to even sell it again. So with that in mind, the thing that's really cool is, even if you're not into video game collecting and you've been out and about looking at ROMs and stuff to download, it feels like we've had technological breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough in the last, I'll even say, 5 years, basically throughout this PS5 and Xbox Series generation, where there are like so many different ways to play these games now. And the one that's exploding currently are these like recompilations, these decompilations that are going around. And there are so many of them. I feel like every other day when I log on, like go on social media, there's like a new one that's getting thrown around. And here's a website that I came across that is attempting to at least keep up to date on them, whether it's the arcade or NES or Genesis, Super Nintendo, PlayStation. I do like that. Well, the N64 got actually several really good ones. The Star Fox one is awesome. It's like you can make it full widescreen, and Star Fox on the N64, when it's cleaned up visually, because you can also change the resolution and all the other graphical enhancements. It looks awesome on like a big widescreen. But like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask have gone through some, I mean, legitimate transformations with some of these recompilations. Here's the thing, though. You do need the original ROM, and they'll tell you what the exact ROM is that you need for it. So you still need to provide the assets, and that's one of the reasons these projects are continuing on, and there's really nothing to copyright strike, because there's no copyright there in terms of assets or files. So it's an interesting workaround that these different groups have figured out. Perfect Dark was one that I thought was pretty cool. Of course, Super Mario 64. But then we start to get into the PS2 with all the Jack games that are available. This one is awesome. I actually played some of it. The Twilight Princess, Dusklight. There's another one I believe that's coming out soonish. This was really cool, though, Dusklight. There's a lot of fun stuff you can do there in terms of graphical enhancements, and they also have stuff where it can play closer to if you want to do speed runs or other things. So that's one I definitely recommend looking into there. But then it gets really crazy because the Xbox 360 has been thrown into the mix, and we are seeing some legitimate ones and also some very out of left field. When I saw Naughty Bear, I said, man, someone's doing Naughty Bear? This is the most random thing. But I like it, because that is a game that I remember when that popped up. It was super random, but it was so funny. Is this bear, And they're basically just like teddy bears with like stuffing and stuff. He wasn't invited to a birthday party, so he decides to just massacre everyone in some of the craziest like kill scenes. I think he like electrocutes one of them by shoving their head into the into like the circuit breaker. So it's quite interesting, and one I would actually recommend checking out. Now, here's the thing: there is some controversy around these different, some of them I'll say, recompilations, decompilations, etc. Is there is AI usage in some of them, not all of them, some of them, and you can generally tell when you go to like the GitHub, it'll have, oh, Claude was a contributor, and here's the double-edged sword to the entire AI thing, right? AI is speeding up development of some of these recompilations. It's clear, it's obvious. Even that PS5 emulator, Claude's getting involved, and all of a sudden they're breaking into gameplay for Demon Souls. It's just, this is the way it goes. So there is, I think here even the person who was writing this up was sort of having that moral dilemma of, here's how I'm handling AI disclosures and vibe coded ports, which I do think for the most part people will be more interested in the results than how they got there. That's just the truth of the matter. Okay. So yeah, you're probably going to see the little Claude logo pop up in many of these GitHubs. I came across Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury, which is a game I did enjoy on the, on the Game Boy Advance. Boo's Fury just getting a random recomp is just, it's the funniest thing. And that defines completely what is happening right now in this scene, where it's just almost rapid fire. But it's a good thing, because then you can see them get ported to all kinds of systems, but clearly you can play it then on your PC natively. The one that is getting thrown around a lot right now is it's this like Pokemon Gen 1 recomp. This one does have Claude involved. You can see it right there, and they are making significant progress on this Gen 1 recomp plus. I played a little bit of it. It's like voxel based. People think of HD 2D. No, it's like 3D Game Heroes, which is probably confusing as it is. I guess stay tuned for when we get a recomp of that thing. That was a cool game on the PS3. Atlas did that, but that was like the immediate thought in my mind when I saw it. But essentially, it's like this interesting view of the Generation 1 Pokemon games. I even loaded up Yellow and it worked fine. But you can do all kinds of mods to the thing. There's even like a first-person view. I think VR got intertwined with it. It still has some jank. And again, they're on version 0.1.98. So, they're still working through all this stuff. I think the overworld looks cool. It has even a full day-night cycle. The lighting looks awesome. I think the battles still, they need some work. Like, you go into battles and like the menu seems a little too big and in the way, and the characters or the models for the different Pokemon, they look kind of strange on screen. But again, they still have more work to do with it, and it seems like they are updating this thing every other day, maybe. And they're doing some, I think, fun stuff with an older generation or an older set of games people have played through over and over and over again, and it's like a whole new take on it. I did like being able to zoom it out, though, with Viridian Forest. You can zoom all the way out, and you can just see everything. That part was kind of funny. You're not really zoomed in as much then. So with that in mind, you have all these different recompilations, ports that are happening, and they're getting moved even to different Android devices. And there's so many of these too. And this is something else over the last 5 years has absolutely exploded. If you go to here's just Ambernick's site, there are so many of these systems, and they're just ranging in price, and some of them better than others, of course, depends on how much money you want to put into it. I just got this RGSP because I mean it's $65, so it's on like the cheaper side. And so when I see that pricing, it's less than a full price game now, and it kind of falls into that impulse buy territory. So I go, oh, okay, well, that could be cool if it does what it's supposed to, which you look at it. I'll give you a guess at what system they're trying to play with it. Plays Game Boy Advance and Game Boy games fine. Also plays PS1 games pretty well. So it's a little clamshell Game Boy Advance SP lookalike. Actually, it's pretty close to the feel as well. Plays the Game Boy Advance games, plays PS1 games, and it's like a clamshell that fits in your pocket. So $65, like, okay, that's not bad. But even from there, again, you could spend more money, and some of these Android devices with these ports, you can play these different recompilations. So it continues to add value to different ways to do retro gaming. And then you also have achievements, even. There's full retro achievements that you can do with some of these older systems. So that's in play. And then to go beyond that, I've noticed some of these sites are popping up. Like was Afterplay, and you can play your ROMs in a browser. Like that's where we are with this. And like, you can pay more money for more features, but even the free version is just like it works. Like you have a save state, everything, and you can go through it without needing necessarily local hardware. So I'm even thinking if you're just on the go and you're just, oh, I kind of want to fire this up on I guess a laptop somewhere, maybe at work, I don't I don't know, but that you could just kind of play it right there in your browser. And as one of those Stone Age people, thinking about how going up to like a Pentium 2 made it easier so I could play, I think it was Mega Man X2 at the time, which is, it's so weird to think that the struggle was on for Super Nintendo emulation back then. And now I'm seeing people be able to play it directly in a browser or on their phone or on these cheaper, lower power handheld devices. It's like, man, things really have come that far for retro gaming. And now with people kind of looking at modern gaming as there's just a lot happening there, and it's very far away from the days of buy a cartridge or buy a disc, pop it in the system and start playing, and you're not signing up for a service, and there's not extra microtransactions on top of that, and there's a battle pass, and there's some kind of update for some reason you have to download. So I do understand the simplicity side for retro gaming, and I mean, in some cases, if you're just detached from the internet completely, it does feel like a different world when you have even a PS1 with the disc out. But also, if you have a device like this that just has a bunch of local files or ROMs stored on it, you just kind of hang out and play it. It's it's a different experience, but definitely it's a callback to a different time. So yes, nostalgia, doing a lot of heavy lifting with the retro gaming, but there are still some genuinely interesting and unique experiences from back definitely during the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox era, but even now during the 360, PS3, and Wii era, which yes, is retro now. I mean, we're about to be 20 years removed from the PS3 and the Wii launch. The 360 definitely retro, even though it has an HDMI port. But hey, that's just kind of how it goes. Sorry, you're getting old. But in the future, I do have several videos that are coming up around emulation devices, some like weird things even that you wouldn't expect, like little systems you wouldn't expect to be able to play certain games, and a few other things there, because that's like the thing that I keep getting recommended the most are ways to play older games, even coming down to modding something like a PS3, a 360, a Wii. There's so many different avenues to play games now, if you're not as interested maybe in some of the modern stuff currently. But let me know what you guys think about all this down below in the comments. How do you feel about retro gaming right now? And do you also see it as it's just kind of going a little crazy with all kinds of different ways to access some of these older titles? Thanks, guys, for watching, and I'll see you next time.